everyone, to another episode of Around the Aether Cooler. This time, hopefully, with more ether and less cooler. Hopefully. Okay, so that joke was really bad. Didn't hold much water, but you know what? We're gonna have a great time tonight anyway because we're joined by the Aether crew. Of course, that's Mike from Mythic Tales, animator extraordinaire, Nicole, aka BadWolf MTG, community all-star, and Nizzahon, our premier limited expert. Say hello, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, that was all of them. Now, tonight we have a lot to talk about, but sadly I won't be around for it. A little inside baseball here. I'm actually moving tomorrow. Like, legitimately, I'm currently sitting in my office with nothing but this computer on a few boxes. So things are shutting down here till I get my internet back this weekend. Still, we want this show to keep rolling, so the group here generously decided to take the reins this evening, so you'll still get your weekly dose of MTG chatter. Now, while I'm back packing my entire life away, God, I should have been more prepared for this. I didn't realize how many Magic cards I actually owned. We're still gonna have lots of fun. The hub here will be going over some awesome topics. We'll first run the range and see which 5 cards each of the hub crew here are excited for, from Magic's return to core sets, Core 19, a little peek into our personal preferences in Magic, and what we think are some fun and some standouts in Core 19. Following that, our discussion of M19 in general, as the set has been fully spoiled. Will it be good, bad, fun, not fun, from a limited, standard standpoint? The crew's gonna get into all of that. We'll also be talking some controversy. Yeah, the hub likes to rock the boat a little bit, but don't worry, I think you guys are gonna like it. We'll be debating and discussing Wizard of the Coast's pro player and tournament practices. There has been not so great stuff going on for the sake of marketing lately, so we'll be able to see how self-injurious that could be for the company and the game. And finally, to wrap things up, Nicole has our community spotlight of the week. We'll be showcasing a smaller member of the YouTube community so you guys can get a taste of the other great content out there for the people to enjoy. So that's the docket for tonight, guys. Sorry again, I can't join, but moving is more annoying than a control mirror match. So I'm gonna take care of that while the Aether crew here takes care of you guys with Around the Aether Cooler. Enjoy.
Well, you know what that sound means, guys. Sorry we had another audio issue. Unfortunately, we lost Nicole's local recording of her audio, so at this point I'm going to switch over to the Discord call audio. Don't worry, it's still listenable, but hopefully we'll have everything ironed out for next time. Sorry again, still learning things, and we'll keep trying to do better. Thanks for listening. Before you go, Seiben, what's your top number 1 favorite card from M19?
Ooh, okay. Honestly, it's probably Liliana Untouched by Death.
All right.
Only because, one, I find Liliana such an amazing and intriguing character from a lore standpoint, but having a commander that's really, really tribal-centric, unlike Sarkhan, I don't think that's going to be a thing, but zombies certainly do have a chance to be something in Standard, so really interesting card all around for me.
All right, cool. Well, we'll let you get back to packing there.
All right, thanks,
Happy
guys.
moving.
Oh yes, I hope I just.
Best of luck.
I really hope I don't come out of it crippled or something, because I'm not the most sturdy man. So moving stuff isn't my activity of choice.
All right, well, keep your back straight, lift with your legs, and all that good stuff. And
all right, guys. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll join you guys next week.
All right. So now Seiben's gotta go, so you're stuck with us guys. But we'll try to keep it nice and fun for you tonight. So each of us are gonna go over our top 5 cards from the M19 spoiler. The rules that I set out for it doesn't have to be like about how playable it is, how well it's gonna fit into a deck or anything. It's just all about like our favorites from an art standpoint, a flavor standpoint, and maybe in Nizzahon's case, more playability and limited standpoint. So no particular order or anything, just our top 5 picks that like made us go ooh when we looked at the spoiler. So yeah, do you want to go ahead and kick it off, Nizzahon?
Sure. So the 5 cards I chose are all things basically that I think will be interesting for limited. Whether they'll actually be good is maybe another question. The first card I wanted to talk about is Sarkhan's Unsealing, which is just a super wacky card in terms of what it does. I don't actually know what it's supposed to be flavor-wise. Maybe it's supposed to be showing us, Sarkhan being freed from something, I guess. But the build-around nature of this card is just weird. Like, it's a 4-mana enchantment. You can see it actually on the screen now. And it gives you so much value if you're playing creatures with power 4, 5, 6, or 7, 4 or greater, basically. And there's a little bit of that in this set in general. Like, you have the Bear Legend who also likes power 4 or greater. There's like in red and green, there's a little bit of a 4-power theme going on for one reason or another. And Sarkhan's Unsealing is really, I hope it's going to be possible to build around it because it can give you so much value. The idea in limited that you could play this and then, the next turn play anything that has power 4, 5, or 6 and then kill any of your opponent's creatures is nuts. And what gets to be even more ridiculous is that if you cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, you basically wipe your opponent's entire board. So the potential on Sarkhan's Unsealing is incredibly high. Whether or not it's actually possible to get enough creatures to make it worth it is something I'm going to try to find out early. First time I see this card, I'm going to first pick it and try to build around it just because I think it looks like a lot of fun. It might be fun to build around in Constructed too, but Limited is where I think you can go pretty wacky with such an interesting card.
Yeah, that's a really neat mechanic. It kind of reminds me of a fixed Imminent Doom, if you remember that card from was it Hour of Devastation, where you play the 1-drop spell, 2-drop spell, and it escalates. But this seems just so much better since you can.
It's not nearly as narrow. It doesn't make you like scale up the mana like every time. You can just play 4, 5, 6s or 7s, and as long as it's in play, it's just going to do what it does. So yeah, it's not nearly as hard to make work as Imminent Doom. Although Imminent Doom was fun to build around as well.
And it's a red card. Yeah, I was going to say, Nicole should probably like it. It's a red card.
Yeah, and it also takes care of planeswalkers, too. That's nice that it handles both creatures and planeswalkers and your opponent on that 7 or greater.
Yeah, I mean, if they're in Constructed, which I don't play hardly any Constructed, but if there's like a legit ramp deck, I could see people wanting to play this just because it lets you ramp into a huge monster and wipe your opponent's board, most likely, I could be potentially that. What the Kozilek's Return or whatever was sort of like that in the ramp decks a few standards ago, where it was a ramp deck and you could do 2 to everything, and then it went into your graveyard. And when you played a creature, I think with converted mana cost 7 or greater, it did a bunch of damage to the whole board. And this could sort of fill that role, although I don't think it's quite as good as Kozilek's Return in terms of Constructed. But I don't think it's impossible for something with this much potential to see play in Constructed, I guess, is what I would say.
Yeah, I actually did play with Kozilek's Return. There was a while where I was playing the Elder Deep Fiend merge deck.
Yeah,
that was really fun. And I think it was Sultai, but you splash for red just to have Kozilek's Return. Like, sometimes you just put it into the graveyard because it was such a good board clear spell against a lot of the decks in the format. And that card was a little more flexible because it was an instant speed board, right? Because you could play it, as a 3-mana instant. Deals 2 damage to all creatures, and then when you had it in the graveyard and you cast like a high mana cost creature, it did 5 damage to everything, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, the fact that it hits planeswalkers on the 7+ trigger is pretty insane.
Yeah, well, even on the 4, 5, 6 trigger, you can hit any target. So that's. I mean, usually I think in Limited anyway, you're going to want to hit a creature, but sometimes you can hit other stuff and it'll matter, like planeswalkers or players.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the lower limit on this card, if you can trigger it twice, I think you've easily gotten a good investment out of 4 mana, for sure.
For sure.
All right, any other thoughts on this one?
Nope, I think I'm ready to move on if you guys are.
All right.
Should I move on with one of mine, or are we rotating?
You know what, let's rotate.
Okay.
You want to go ahead, Nicole?
Yeah, can we do Knight's Pledge?
Yep. Knight's
Yay!
Pledge. Is it gonna get me? Oh, nope, didn't have to do an apostrophe. Nice. Okay.
Yes. So I'm a red mage, but the reason why I love this card is because of the art. that's it. That's the whole reason why I love Magali, and she always just nails it every single time. And her art is just so good.
Oh, definitely. I think she's kind of risen to be like one of the defining artists of like the current generation of Magic, with how many iconic cards she's done lately. Like Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Like everybody knows that card and pretty much universally loves that card.
It's on my wall. I got a print of that one. I've got her Thalia. I've got Narset, and I need to get some more.
So did you first fall in love with her art because of Chandra, or was it before that, just out of curiosity?
It was before that. I absolutely adored Narset as a planeswalker, and I loved the art on that card, but I didn't realize who it was. And then Chandra came out, and I was like, oh, that art's awesome. And I looked at the artist, and I was like, what else has she done? I was like, oh my goodness, Narset. Ah! And yeah, that's why it's on my wall in print form and framed.
You know what? Real quick here, I'll go ahead and I'll blow that up a little bigger on the screen.
I mean,
very pretty.
Just the detail on it is so ridiculous. It's just so it's so pretty.
Yeah, very much so. And little game you can play when you start getting to know the artists is just looking for their art, you know, coming out in sets. And Magali definitely is one that you can just tell right away after you've, you know, put together enough times which one pieces are hers. The hair on her characters is incredible, and just all the detailing in the armor and things like that. She's, just a excellent artist. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about playability a little bit. What do you think about it?
I'm gonna have to defer to someone else because I don't know.
I think in Limited anyway, it's like an okay aura that you'll play if you're in the enchantment heavy deck or a really aggressive deck. The green-white deck in Core 2019 is all about enchantments and mostly about auras specifically. And there are better auras around, like Knightly Valor. And there's another one that's 2 and a green, and it gives something +1/+1 and trample, and it can keep coming back from your graveyard, sort of like a really crappy rancor. And so Knight's Pledge is probably the 3rd best enchantment for that deck, and it's fine. It's definitely not exciting, and I wouldn't advise taking it early. But it is a playable aura just because it gives a decent stats boost for the cost, and that's really all there is to say about it. I think for Limited anyway.
Yeah, I would definitely be looking to see if there's any kind of enchantment synergy before playing a card like this, because it is pretty milquetoast. You know, just the 2 mana for +2/+2 isn't going to do a lot for you, especially in Constructed. It's, this is definitely unplayable in Constructed because there's literally probably a dozen better enchantments for the same cost in the standard format right now.
Yeah, definitely. Not a great card, just the good art.
I think you'll see it in Limited though. So
yeah, just a reminder to everybody: this is a core set. This is basically a core set card. Which, when you look at the set from top down, like from rarity, this set doesn't look like your standard core set. But when you look at it from the bottom up with commons and uncommons, it looks a little bit more like your standard core set that's meant for new players. You know, power levels are a little bit lower, the complexity is a little toned down. But for whatever reason, this set we do see at the rare and mythic rare level, there's actually quite a few pretty complicated cards.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guessing we are good to go on that one. I will go ahead and grab my first one here. So I am gonna go with Izzareth the Awakener. So a lot of things to like about this card. It's a 3-drop, 3/3, which passes the vanilla test right away, and it's got Death Touch. It's like, well, there you go. That's already a excellent card in Limited, even without all the incredible text below it. But the rest of the box says, whenever Izzareth the Awakener attacks, you may pay X. When you do, return target creature with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. With a corpse counter on it. If that creature would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. So basically, I saw a lot of confusion with this. The corpse counter is just a reminder that that creature doesn't get to go back to the graveyard like normal, rather than having a token like we dealt with the Scarab God. Because of his Eternalize ability and everything. I think that got a little confusing, so this time around they decided to give us a specific counter to let you know, hey, this creature is not meant to go back into the swing of things. It just it leaves. So
it is. I feel like it's the first time we've ever seen that, though. Like a counter that serves no other purpose other than reminding you about something. You know what I mean? Could be wrong. Like you'd think it would say creatures with corpse counters get exiled instead of putting them anywhere else or something. I don't know. Like it's a little weird, but I understand why they did it.
Yeah, that is true, and it does kind of leave a weird opening in older formats where there are cards that can remove counters. But
it doesn't even matter with this card. Like, if you remove the counter, the card would still get exiled, wouldn't it?
Exactly, and that's why it's confusing, because actually, even in Standard right now, we have oh goodness, it's like a Shaman card from Amonkhet that makes it so creatures can't get counters, like when one more...
Yeah, Vizier of Potions or something like that.
Remedies, that's
Remedies, that's it.
So, yeah, that might have been a bit of a templating fail, but the rest of this card is incredible. I love the art. Art is great. Jason Rainville is the artist on this one. He did Admiral Beckett Brass, so I'm a little biased with that one because it was one of my first big animations, and we chat quite a bit on Twitter, so he's a really cool guy. But, yeah, he just nailed it. I love the aesthetic of the whole thing with the vulture and all that. She looks very proud and defiant, which fits a lot of the necromancers in this game. Liliana.
Yeah.
But in general, I think it's just a really solid card. I like Reanimator strategies. That's probably... I've got like 3 archetypes that I like, and it's Reanimator, Esper, like blue-whitish control, and like Sultai type, decks, which is generally Reanimator. So basically 2 types of decks. And this definitely slots into one of those. I'll definitely be playing around with it to see if I can use it for my nefarious necromantic purposes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great card in Limited. I think it's one of the most powerful cards, like one of the cards you most want to first pick in Limited, just because it offers such incredible stats to begin with. You can trade with anything. And then, by the way, if you really get going with her and the board's empty, she just takes over the game because she starts reanimating everything in your graveyard. So, yeah, she's really strong for Limited.
Definitely someone I want to put in my Alicia Tiny Leader deck.
Oh, yeah, because it is the 3 mana cost or less. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she could be a Tiny Leader commander too, right?
Yeah, she could do that too.
That wouldn't be half bad. Yeah. And another big upside too is the pairing of Death Touch, with a creature that has an attack trigger. It really makes your opponent think like, ooh, do I really want to, like, because if they have like their one big creature, they're more of a ramp style deck or something, they either have to let you resolve the ability and like get something back, or eat a Death Touch creature, which, isn't very fun when you're blocking it down with, 5/5, 6/6, something like that.
Imagine backing this up with like combat tricks and stuff too, where your opponent thinks
Blossoming defense.
Yeah, people think finally this is going to die, and then you play a combat trick. And yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts?
No.
I don't think so.
All right. Let's cycle back to Nizzahon then.
All right. Next, I will talk about Dryad Greenseeker, which is 1 and a green for a 1/3. It's an uncommon. It can tap itself, and you get to look at the top card of your library. And if it's a land, you get to put it into your hand. This is a card I want to talk about just because I want to make people aware of it, ahead of the pre-release and everything, because I think it's the kind of card that sort of gets overlooked. People will look at this and say, well, why do I need to draw more lands, right? Well, sometimes you do, first of all. Second of all, like 40% of your deck is lands, and you have a creature here with relatively efficient stats. Obviously, 2 mana, 1/3 isn't super exciting. But the idea that it's going to draw you a card 40% of the time is pretty significant, I think. I mean, you're going to draw cards with this. Like, say it's in play for 4 or 5 turns. You probably draw 2 extra cards. Look at it that way. Don't look at it as, I drew 2 extra lands, because it doesn't matter, like, in the long term of the game. Your deck is made up of the same composition of lands and spells, and you're going to get to those spells faster thanks to the Greenseeker, even though it only draws you a card with the lands. And it's the kind of card I really like, and then I'm going to value pretty highly. I mean, I even think it's like a first pickable card. I mean, I wouldn't take it over premium removal, but over most other stuff, like, I really like the idea of Dryad Greenseeker being in my decks in Limited. Definitely
something I would first pick over Sarkhan.
Well, yeah, for sure, over Sarkhan. Yeah, on my Limited review, I gave Sarkhan a C, and I gave this a B-, just to see the difference between the two of them. It's pretty significant. So,
Yeah, and I guess I'll comment on the art's pretty neat too. Like, I love that it's holding an island in its hands. Or although you could also say mountains. some combination of the two.
Yeah, tropical island.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, like a pretty cool card all around. I think I almost want to say that Explorer might have helped prime people for this kind of card.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if it was like in that set originally and it like tapped to explore or something and they decided to postpone it and just do something a little different. But yeah, it is sort of explore-esque.
Yeah, because I think people might underestimate it, like you're saying, just like, you know, at face value. But it is kind of neat that this is coming after we've just played with a bunch of Explorer creatures, which I think people kind of came around on after a while. I think Explorer was actually much better in Rivals of Ixalan. But yeah, Ixalan, I was pretty shaky on Explorer as a new mechanic. At least that like kind of primed you for what to expect with this kind of card, though. As far as getting card advantage from like land cards off the top of the library.
Right, yeah, and that's people did really underestimate Explorer for the same reason. I had people in my comments section think I was insane for giving like good grades to cards with Explore because they thought it was just a garbage mechanic where it either throws a card you want in your graveyard or draws you a land, and who wants to be doing that? But yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that with mechanics like this, where you get to draw a card if it's a land, and if you don't, maybe something else happens. But guess what? It's going to be a land a significant portion of the time. You're going to be drawing lands anyway, so why not dig deeper into your deck? You know, so
yeah, definitely. Any last thoughts?
No.
All right, let's go on to Nicole. What's your next pick?
Reassembling Skeleton. Let's go with that one.
All right.
So back in Avacyn Restored, there was this lovely little pre-constructed deck that they had, and it was wonderful. It was red, it was black, it was one of the first ones I picked up, and I fell in love with it, and this card was in there, so seeing it again and getting to play with it again, I'm pretty excited for that, because I just absolutely love that deck with the Morbid mechanic and sacrificing and blood artists, and it was awesome. So I'm really excited to play with this card again, just for nostalgia purposes, really.
All right, yeah, it's really not too bad of a rate for, especially because we don't see Regenerate anymore, which was kind of how like all the classic skeletons operated. Yeah, this is pretty similar to Scrap Heap Scrounger, but you can chump block with it. So, yeah, that's a pretty big upside.
Yeah, and I mean...
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say the only problem is it comes into the battlefield tapped, which is a little... as an aggro deck, you know, I want that a little better, but do that at the end of your turn, it's not too terribly impacted, so...
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good in the right deck anyway, and limited too, because the black-red deck's all about sacrificing, right? You know, you have like the signpost and commons of 4 mana, 3/3 with menace, who when it attacks, you can sack a creature, and then it gets +2/+2. And if you're just sacrificing a reassembling skeleton to that every turn, that's going to be really, really painful for your opponent for a 5/5 menace every turn. And there's a bunch of other cards that sacrifice too. And if you can just keep abusing that with reassembling skeleton, it's going to get you huge amounts of advantage over the course of the game. So I think it's a cool card flavor wise too. The idea that, you know, it just keeps coming back together no matter what you do to it. Yeah, it's a cool card.
Yeah, and even if you're playing like a slower, you know, more dirtily deck, yeah, you block with it, and then and if you leave the mana open, you can bring it back before your turn. So you block them on their turn.
Right.
It goes to the graveyard, then you pay the 2 mana, it'll untap on your turn, and, you know, you basically got a Will-O-Wisp at that point.
Yep.
All right. Any other thoughts on this one?
No.
I do like the art on it, too. It's pretty cool, like, you know, kind of ragged skeleton with the cloth and stuff all torn up.
It's the original art, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the original one.
Yeah.
Also, if you look in the background, that headstone kind of looks funny. Is that oh yeah, it is like a smiley face on it, isn't it? Enhance. Oh.
I don't know if I'd call that smiley, but a little scary.
Yeah, a little creepy looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, either way, pretty cool. All right, guess I'll hop to my second card. which this one's gonna be a little boring, but Cleansing Nova. So this one is kind of strictly standard play. Viability is what I want to talk about with this one. Obviously, it's a straight bomb in limited, no question there. But the modal choice on this one is pretty interesting, and I think it's gonna possibly supplant Fumigate before rotation, which is kind of the big question right now, because it costs the same as Fumigate, but it doesn't have the life gain upside. But I think
it has more flexibility, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be pretty huge because it kind of enables non-control white decks a little bit more, because a lot of blue-white controls removal right now is cast out, seal away, cast out and seal away. So, it's pretty much handling everything. So you can just turn it on to the Destroy Enchantments mode because they're not playing creatures anyways. So you're not ever going to blank against like a creatureless control deck. And then in the white control, putting it in a white control deck allows you to better combat, the mirror, first and foremost, but also the blue-black artifacts deck. It lets you hit Heart Curins. It lets you take out all the little cantrip artifacts that they play, because they play a lot of like servo schematics and things like that, so they can trick out their Herald of Anguish and things like that faster. So I would put it this way: at the RPTQ, I would have been very happy to have this card over Fumigate. There was a lot more times this would have been a much more effective removal spell than Fumigate.
Do you think people will run sort of like a split between their sideboard and their main board? And because Cleansing Nova is obviously better against the control player, but against a lot of aggro decks, Fumigate's probably still better, right?
Oh, that's the thing. I think I would main deck this card over Fumigate, and then maybe I might do like a one of Cleansing Nova main board, and then a one of Fumigate in the sideboard, possibly. But then I'd almost rather have another Cleansing Nova in case I got that the artifacts matchup I talked about, because that's can be a pretty tough matchup because they run quite a few counters because they have Metallic Rebuke and negates and things. So
Godpharaoh's Gift blows up Godpharaoh's Gift. That
that too. Because another big concern is that the Fumigate, you don't really play it that often against aggro because Settle the Wreckage exists.
That's true.
Yeah, and against red-black decks, they have so many ways of recurring the creatures, like Rekindling Phoenix and Glorybringer, has haste, so a lot of times I would actually go down on Fumigates in the red matchup. Like, the only matchup where I was playing my Fumigates was green, because green has a lot of threats like Galta, where they don't have to swing in with their team, and they would just swing in with just Galta, and then leave up all their big guys behind, so that's where Fumigate really shines. Because they can play around Settle the Wreckage. But given that choice, green really likes to end games with a big punch, so I would rather have this, I think, just for the modality, than getting that little 4 or 5 extra life, or I'd say the average life you gain off Fumigate is like 3 life, and I'm willing to trade 3 life for the ability to win the artifacts matchup if I run up against it. So yeah, there's my little deep dive. Sorry, probably went a little too in depth on that one, but
no, it's good.
Hopefully it's good for people. Yeah,
my aggroness to understand what I need to play against.
Right now, that's just Settle the Wreckage. That card is really, really great. On an art note, it's a Noah Bradley piece. Something to always look for with Noah Bradley. He centers all of his pieces pretty much. You probably noticed that with like Yawgmoth's Vile Offering and Urza's Ruinous Blast, which is actually similarly pretty close to the same kind of
that's true
pose and everything on this card.
He did all the epic sorceries, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Legendary sorceries.
Yeah, Temporal Sundering is also... It's a pretty bold move for an artist because it's hard to make centered pieces interesting. You almost want to always follow the rule of thirds, where you put the subject basically a third of the way into the frame, but he always dead centers his art, and it still looks incredible.
Yeah, the art on all of those the legendary sorceries is great. So, and this one is too. So
I don't like this one quite as much at the thumbnail size, like the size of the card frame, but if you can look up the full art, yeah, it's definitely pretty cool. You see all the demons getting just blasted by this angel, so pretty cool. Yeah, any other thoughts on it? I guess for limited, nope. Like I said, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great card in limited. The only time, sometimes there are board sweepers. Sometimes when you don't want to play them because like you end up in a crazy aggressive deck, and you still end up playing it, but it's not going to be as good in your deck. But this one gets around that by a little bit because you can use it to blow up like enchantments that are being used on your creatures as removal or artifacts your opponent has. So it's going to be more useful more frequently, even if you're the aggressive deck, than most board sweepers. So yeah, I think it's great in limited.
Huh. Do you think that 1 extra mana for the modality actually makes it better than like Wrath of God in limited?
That's a good question. It depends on how your deck ends up. Obviously, if you end up like a straight up control deck, I think Wrath is probably just better. But I think the modality, like on average, makes it better than it would be in a really aggressive deck, I guess is what I would say in limited.
Yeah, that's just kind of the big question with a lot of these modal cards is like, where does this... Because obviously they usually make you, in this case, you pay an extra mana for modality, but this one's kind of convincing me that it's almost worth that 1 extra mana. All right, well, let's move on to Nizzahon's next card.
All right, I will talk about Vinemare next, which is 2 generic and 2 green for a 5/3 horse. We have this cool cycle of horses in Core 2019. It's an interesting cycle that none of us ever knew we needed, but we're all really happy it's here now. And it has, it's a 4 mana 5/3 with hexproof, and they all hose like the enemy color. In this case, it can't be blocked by black creatures. So the reason I want to talk about it is to talk about a sort of a general trend lately in limited, where Wizards seems to be enjoying printing like 1 hexproof card in a set at common or uncommon, and just seeing the carnage that it creates. We had Jade Guardian a few sets ago in Ixalan, and you could just put an evasive aura on it, like the 1 in a blue, what was it called? 1 in a blue to give it +2/+2 and flying. 1 with the wind, maybe. And
yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, and you would just win the game with that because you have a hexproof creature with flying. And you're going to see that happen in this format too. Vinemare with Aether Tunnel, which is 1 in a blue for +1/+0 and unblockable, is just going to like destroy people. Like we're also talking about Knight's Pledge. Putting Knight's Pledge on this is pretty good. This is a card that plays really well with all the auras and can just run away with games, though giving it evasion is the best thing to do. And it doesn't hurt that some creatures just can't block it anyway. So if you just stack auras onto this Voltron style, it will just destroy people. And there are going to be really frustrating games that are completely non-interactive where you lose to this, but then you're also going to win with it and it's going to feel awesome. So it probably evens out. At least it's an uncommon. But yeah, it is an interesting thing they've been doing lately. We had the big turtle in Dominaria. It wasn't quite as good as this or the Guardian because it costs 6 mana. It's supposed to cost 4, but they're both still pretty good. And it's going to be interesting to see how many people are frustrated by the combination of this plus an aura, especially Aether Tunnel.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's already got, like you said, incidental evasion. Say that
right.
5 times fast. Incidental evasion stapled onto it, and yeah, black's a pretty good color in this set, so I'd imagine you're going to run up against it, pretty often in limited.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at least once per draft when you're if you have a Vinemare in play, that's going to come up. I mean, it may only mean that your opponent can block it with a different creature, but that's still really decreasing their options.
Yeah, it's boggles in standard. We're building it.
Yeah, I mean, if they print a few more lower cost hexproof creatures, it could be a thing.
Well, we already kind of see that with what's the creature that
Sram, Master Artificer, doesn't he sort of enable
yeah, Sram, and then there's the vampire that you can pay 4 life to give it indestructible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That deck definitely ran boards on Arena for quite a while when when full standard wasn't available, because most of the cards for that deck were in standard, so it was definitely one of the more viable options. I think you missed the most important point though.
Is it the art?
No, it's a horse.
It's a horse.
It's a horse.
You have no idea how long I've been waiting for horse
You mean-
tribal in standard. I have 3 foil copies of Crested Sunmare and a couple other non-foil copies. They are going straight into a standard deck as soon as M19 comes out, man. I'm getting like every foil horse I can pick up, and I'm just gonna...
Well, the one you must be the most happy about is the white horse in this cycle, because it does gain life too, in addition to being a horse, right?
Oh yeah, that card is definitely going to bring the deck together, and there's so much life gain theme going on. Like a Johnny's Pride Mate will go into the deck, even though it's a cat. I mean, it's probably going to be an alliance between the cats and the horses, let's be honest.
Can you imagine a cat riding a horse into battle? That'd
Yes.
be adorable.
It'd be pretty awesome. Although, I feel bad for the horses in that equation, because, you know, one's getting ridden, but...
Yeah, but look how big this Vine Mare is. Like, isn't it massive in this art?
Oh,
Like, based
yeah.
on-
Yeah, if you
so
look closer,
it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Cats are incidental.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, heck, a Johnny could ride that thing. But
Yeah, it's got to be like 5 times larger than a real horse or something. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's an estimate based on art, but something like that. It's big.
yeah, it is also pretty cool art. Like, I like how well a job they did at making it look further in the background, like to give you that scale. Like, it's got, you know, these foreground rocks here that kind of give you the first perspective that it's a pretty massive horse. But when it passes, the dead are displaced by flourishing life. Yeah, they also have really good flavor text that leans to the enemy color theme that they have, which is pretty neat too. All right, any other thoughts on this guy?
No?
All right.
Nope. Just be ready to die to Aether Tunnel and Vine Mare if you're going to play limited. I guess.
Yeah, I can definitely see that coming. All right, what do you got next, Nicole?
All right, let's go to the red horse lightning mare. Since we're on the topic, we'll just stay with it.
This one's pretty awesome. I love the art.
I really like this card, and it's for that first line in that box right there. This spell can't be countered. I love that. Plus, it has kind of like fire breathing. I mean, it's 2 mana, but still, it's something. Yeah.
It's a pretty efficient hate card against a control deck, that's for sure.
Yes, that's the important part. Beat control.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little aggressive creature.
So
Too bad it dies to like all removal, I guess. But you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's that.
yeah, if it does see play in constructed, it's probably going to be sideboard, thanks to all of our friend Goblin Chain Whirler.
Yeah, that is a problem.
That's fine. At least it will hit the battlefield for sure.
So
That's true.
Nizzahon, what do you think of the double red cost for this in limited?
I mean, I think it's fine in limited. I don't like it as much. I think the black one and the green one and the white one are the 3 that are like sort of the best, and I think the black one's probably the best. It gives -1/-1 to all your opponent's creatures when it comes into play. But lightning, the other 2 are still playable. I just think they're a little less exciting. Yeah, having a double colored 2-drop is sort of a problem, like because you want to play this on turn 2, especially because if anything blocks it, unless it's blue, which won't be able to block it at all, which is nice. But if anything blocks it, it'll kill it. It is nice that, you know, I think sometimes people underrate how good high power can be in the later game, because it can still trade up, and it can actually trade up really well because of the fact that it can pump its power in the later part of the game. So it's not like it's useless late, at least, but you know, I think it's a fine card that you'll play in your aggressive red decks, but definitely not like a card you like take if your first pick, or even your first 3, 4, 5 picks probably. But it is it's playable and limited, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. All right, any other thoughts on this one?
It feels like, at least on constructed side, they seem to be leaning more towards what's it called? A lot of the same color, monocolored decks. There we go. Just with the cost of all these creatures and stuff they're putting out lately, they have a lot of the high mana cost with the color part.
For sure. I mean, I think a couple weeks ago I said maybe this means in Ravnica we're going to see Devotion come back. I don't know. I mean, I could see it. It's definitely a Theros-y thing, but you could see it working in Ravnica flavor-wise too, I think.
Yeah, You could, especially if Nicol is going to come over and take over things. I could see that working that way.
I'm trying to think, we're on a 2-year rotation now, right? I believe. No.
You're the expert there.
Oh, geez, yeah. I was just trying to think if Dominaria is still going to be in standard after we get past.
I want to say yes. I think it's Ixalan, Dominaria, and M19 stay.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be here this fall. I'm talking about for the next fall, when like we could possibly return to Theros, which is actually getting quite a bit of credence right now because there was a poster. Oh, yeah, plug your ears if you don't want spoilers for some pretty far out story stuff. I don't know if I can. I don't have like a spoiler warning here, so I'll go ahead and put this up on the screen. Put my be right back thing here. There was a poster that was meant to be released much later from now that has Planeswalker art and every other. It's like a whole poster made up of the art of Planeswalkers. Like, I'll see if I can find it. But people noticed that there was art on there that has not been released previously. Every other single piece of art has been released before now, but there's 10 pieces of art on there, and one of them is Elspeth, and she's wearing like the armor of the dead from Theros.
I hope she's an Orzhov one because that would be amazing. Oh.
Does that mean she's going to be like reanimated by Nicol as, or does that mean? I don't know what armor of the dead means. I'm not good on the flavor.
The idea is that maybe she was let out from the underworld to hunt somebody. This is where it would be helpful if Seiben was here.
Yeah.
I can't
Thanks,
find it.
Seiben.
But yeah, it's a really interesting. If you just look up like Planeswalker poster 2019 or something, it's actually available in stores right now at what's that store called? Starts with an E, Entertainment. It's like an acronym. It's in malls and stuff. Oh my gosh, how do I not know that?
I don't know it either.
FYE for your entertainment, I think. Yeah, that's what it's called. You can actually pick it up right now because it went out early, like to the printers, and then it got sent. Like it's already being sold, even though it wasn't supposed to be sold until like much later. But yeah, pretty interesting. So yeah, that could lend to your theory that they're getting ready for Devotion again, but I don't know if that makes sense because if Theros was the fall set next year, I'm pretty sure Dominaria will be rotated out by then because it'll have been
Q2 2019 is when it rotates, so probably till about October of 2019.
Yeah, and we already know that there's going to be 3 sets on Ravnica in the fall, so you might be right. Maybe they'll try out Devotion with Ravnica, maybe like a modified form of it or something. But yeah, all right, I'll take the be right back down out of the spoiler zone. But yeah, sorry, we got way off track there. All right, anything else on Lightning Mare?
Don't think so.
All right, so I'll go with my next card here, the Runic Armasaur. Got another dino, which is always cool. This one's kind of interesting because it kind of falls into the same slot as Thrashing Bronodon. Yeah, it's another 1 green card. It's a hate card, kind of like Bronodon. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. And it's got 2 power, 5 toughness. So right off the bat, I'm thinking this looks pretty sweet against any deck that has Walking Ballista in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also, Search for Iskanta would trigger it. Whenever they activate their Search for Iskana, you could draw a card.
Even the Scarab God activated.
Yep, Scarab God. Activated. Yeah. Also, the 5 butt is pretty important on this card because it can't be taken out by our big flying friend Glorybringer.
Yeah, they should have just given it reach too, though, right? I mean, that's a big tail.
Oh, that would have been pretty cool.
just hates on everything.
This card might have actually been straight up busted if it had reach, because then Rekindling Phoenix would not stand a chance. I mean, you could swing in with Rekindling Phoenix and then finish it off with a shock, but that's a lot of, you know...
Yeah, that's...
a lot of flexibility on a card like this, so...
yeah.
Yeah, I just think the reason I picked it was because I think it could make green a lot more viable in Standard, because right now it just kind of lacks in interaction against like control-y type decks and the red decks that have a lot of activated abilities, because like red right now has like Pia Nalar, which has 2 activated abilities on it. It's got does Exert count as an activated ability?
This is where I get confused.
I think it does. I could be wrong though.
I think it does.
Depends
too.
on how it's worded.
Yeah, because you have to activate it on the creature when it's already on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would like let you draw a card. There's Walking Ballista, of course, like I said, which, holy cow, you do not
all
even want to...
planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, this is just a creature or a land, so planeswalkers don't count it. That would be insane if it included planeswalkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a great card, though, because, again, it basically just makes the Walking Ballista the worst card ever, because the whole point with Walking Ballista is that you need to activate it many times, you know, to do anything with it. And every single damage that they do with Walking Ballista, that's a card draw, so yeah, that's pretty crazy. But I don't know this set well enough yet. What does it look like in Limited, Nizzahon?
I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, 3 mana for a 2/5 is pretty insane stats in Limited. Like, you don't get 7, you know, total power and toughness split across a creature on 3 mana very frequently. So it's a nice defensive card. And yeah, I mean, you'll go up against activated abilities. I mean, I wouldn't expect to draw cards with this frequently in Limited, but, you know, let's say you draft one of these and you play, you know, all of your matches, you probably draw at least 1 card off of it at some point. And when that comes with decent stats like this, I think you're perfectly happy to have it in your deck. I don't think you want to first pick it just because, you know, it's not going to overpower your opponent or anything, but it is a nice defensive creature who can draw you some cards.
Yeah. What about you, Nicole? Anything on this one?
I like the flavor text references the Sun Empire and Ixalan, so that's cool.
Yeah, we actually did still see a few Ixalan-inspired cards. One that I don't think is on any of our lists, but what is it called? Sun...
Colossal Dreadmaw, is that the one you're thinking of?
No, it's going to be a possibly huge card in Commander, but I can't remember what it's...
Colossal Dreadmaw.
Sun.
I thought that was new. I thought Colossal Dreadmaw had never been printed before.
Oh, yeah.
No, never.
Never, ever. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's the 2 mana hate card that, like, hates on counters.
Yeah. Emissary of the Sun, maybe? 1 and a white for a 1/4. Yeah, I don't remember what its name is exactly, but yeah, it looks like it's from Ixalan, so that makes sense.
Sun Cleanser, yeah.
There we go.
There we go. That's it.
Sun Cleanser is kind of Ixalan-ish, like you said. Colossal Dreadmaw, of course, it's Ixalan.
Is Gigantosaur from Ixalan, or is it a dinosaur from Dominaria, or what? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if there's something on the.
It doesn't look super Ixalan-y.
It doesn't, but let me go see. And it's a quote from Vivian Reed, so I'm gonna guess it's not Ixalan, but she is a planeswalker, so.
Yeah, that's true. All right, any other thoughts on that one?
No.
All right, let's move on to Nizzahon's next card.
Right, now I will talk about Skyrider Patrol, which is the blue-green Signpost uncommon. It's 4 mana, 2 a green and a blue for a 2/3 with flying. And at the beginning of combat, you can play a green and a blue. And when you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control, and that creature gains flying until end of turn. So blue-green is probably my favorite color pair. I like that it's just sort of, you know, big creatures and grinding out value and all of those sorts of things are things I love. And this is another very powerful Signpost uncommon in a pretty long line of consecutive powerful Signpost uncommons for green-blue. The green-blue archetype, from what I can tell, is sort of a weird one, and this sort of embodies it. It's sort of about making creatures hard to block. You know, usually we have blue-white skies, in this format, I feel like we have green-blue evasiveness more generally. There are several green cards that make it so smaller creatures can't block them, and some cards that say only one creature can block them. And then you have Skyrider Patrol. You have stuff like Aether Tunnel to put on your big creatures, ideally Vinemare. And Skyrider Patrol, I think, is like the best of all of these payoffs, just because, you know, imagine, we just talked about Colossal Dreadmaw. Imagine just having one of those in play and giving it a +1/+1 counter and flying. It's like a really, really good Pegasus Courser because it gives a permanent boost, and it's a lot larger of a creature to begin with. And it's going to represent massive amounts of damage. It's the kind of card, uncommon, that even though it's gold, I think you first pick in packs that don't have crazy good cards like Murder or a rare bomb in it, because if you can play this, it's just going to take over games like a bomb would, like a straight up bomb would, and it's an uncommon, and so it's insanely powerful, and you do have to be in those 2 colors. But I'm really excited to play with it and kill people with giant flying dinosaurs and stuff. So
I'm excited to play this in Constructed.
Yeah, there could definitely be a place for it in Constructed.
It's also an elf.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's in like a little bit awkward of a spot at 4 mana. There's just so many like super awesome cards in 4 mana, but the fact that it's a 2/3 flyer is already a decent rate for 4 mana, and then, you know, you add on a pretty amazing ability. Yeah, it possibly could see play, like you said, in the tribal. I think I saw you tweet about an elf deck that splashes blue. Yeah.
Yes.
So
flying elves.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, no more flying men, flying elves.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that a goofy old? Oh, what was that? Flying
men.
I think it was just a card. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 blue mana for a 1/1 flyer. It's an old card.
And just like Llanowar elves, there's only one dude.
Yeah.
Flying men.
Right. Yeah.
But
it is this card is Zendikar, right? That's what's representing, because that's the last time we saw elves riding on giant flying manta rays. So I'm just assuming, you know, that seems pretty specific.
Yeah, it does seem to call back to there. Yeah, Unlimited, this thing just seems like a house. I mean, like you said,
insane.
It seems like Green Blue has gotten like some of the best uncommons in all the like past few sets, because we've seen River Hoopu, the Merfolk Shaman.
Tatyova. Yeah.
Dominaria had Tatyova. The River Herald or whatever it was from what was it called? It was the one where you could like put counters on a land. At Green Blue. Rogue Refiner is one of the most busted cards in Standard until it.
I think to go with the last like mediocre one is actually last time we were on Zendikar. It was an Eldrazi, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, but it was like it's like a 3 mana 2/4 flash that gives a creature hexproof when it comes into play, which still is pretty good, but doesn't take over games the way Skyrider Patrol and River Hoopo and Tatyova do. But I think part of the reason they've been doing that is because blue-green frequently doesn't end up with any sort of synergistic anything. And so it's sort of just a good stuff deck. And so they're like, yeah, let's give them the one, like the signpost in common that has the most raw power, like in a vacuum. And that seems to be what they've been doing lately. So
yeah, that's a good insight, actually. That does make a lot of sense for Limited. It is kind of nice that they make them have enough raw power that they definitely have potential for Constructed, though. Like Rogue Refiner did, you know. That card was just busted.
Yeah, that one was. Funnily enough, while it's good in Limited, it wasn't nearly as busted Constructed, where you could just jam every card with energy in it into the same deck, because you can't do that in Limited. I mean, you could try, but you're not going to get there. So
yeah, I mean, you still had Green Blue and Limited where you could play Long Tusk Cub and
for sure,
and the Turtle and things like that. You know, that
it's still good. Yeah, just not like why did they print this broken in Limited? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, anything else on this one?
Nope.
I do love that he's shooting the arrow from behind his head. What a cocky dude. Like, look at that. He's just like, yeah, no problem. I can make the shot. That's going nowhere.
While moving.
Anything.
Yeah.
All right. What's your next card, Nicole?
Let's do another elf, because somehow I keep picking the same creature types you do, Nizzahon. Poison Tip Archer.
All right. This would be our green-black.
Yeah.
Oh, does not like a dash between poison and tip. Poison tip. Nope. Poison space tip.
Come on, Scryfall.
Oh no. Can't find it. Maybe if I just type. Oh no, if I just type poison, there's gonna be
A billion of them.
actually not that many cards. Only 3
Okay.
rows. All right, here he is.
So I like this card because not only does it have reach and help me take care of all those awful flying things that blue likes to play out, it also has Death Touch, which is even better. I like Death Touch a lot. And the art on this is pretty cool. And it's a 4-mana 2/3. And whenever another creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life with Death Touch. That just seems really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like, yeah, just a blood artist is always great, and it kind of goes with the sacrifice theme we were talking about. There's a light sacrifice theme going on. Maybe not quite in the green-black, color space, but you might be able to splash for this thing if you do set up the sacrifice deck.
I mean, yeah, this card is another really strong signpost uncommon, just because, I mean, they're all, signpost uncommons are usually good if you end up in those 2 colors, right? But I like the ones that you kind of feel good about first picking are the ones that are good, even if you don't end up with the synergies that color pair is pushing. And just like the Skyrider Patrol, Poison Tip Archer is really good, even if you don't have any way to abuse the whenever another creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life thing. I mean, it can block and trade with anything in anything basically, unless it's a Vine Mare with Aether Tunnel, in which case you're still screwed. But it is really good in all other situations. I mean, it can block everything, flyers, it can kill everything. Yeah, it's a really good card for limited.
I couldn't decide between going blue on my elf deck and going black, so I may have to build another one that goes black.
Just go blue.
Yeah, you might be able to throw together Sultai, but honestly, blue seems like probably the better way to go in constructed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the flavor on the cards always, I love when they give a hint to the keywords on a card. In this case, we've got snakes that have like very vibrant mouths on them, so it kind of lends to the Death Touch thing.
Yeah, even the name. If you have poison in your name and you have Archer in your name, you probably have Reach and Death Touch. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, and unlike Seiben's complaint about Vivian, this thing can hit ground creatures.
That's right.
Because archers can fire down. Seiben keeps talking about that over every time we brought up Vivian.
Yeah.
He is not wrong, though. That is very true.
Yep.
All right, anything left on this one?
No.
All right. My next card is Meteor Golem.
Oh, yeah.
This thing is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, just awesome art. I just love that it's like, you can see it in motion, like it just came down and, pile drove the ground, or, well, that's not pile driver, but you get what I'm saying. It just destroyed something, and...
You feel like you can hear it just from looking at the art.
Yeah, just like...
Yeah.
But in general, this card seems incredible. In limited, constructed, possibly even like older formats. I don't know if there's probably some better targets for... So like obviously at 7 mana, you're gonna have to cheat this thing into play in constructed to make it worth it. Because honestly, if you're looking to kill creatures, you're gonna play Ravenous Chupacabra in standard right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the fact that it hits any non-land permanent is huge. So like, you play this in conjunction with Liliana. We've got the Eldest Reborn right now. Even Izareth late game. Like, there's so many ways to reanimate things that a 7 mana destroy any permanent that can be repeated, thanks to reanimation is insane. Like, this makes my Reanimator heart sing. I'm just like, that's the kind of thing we've been looking for. Oh, and Muldrotha too. Oh yeah, I'm definitely slamming this thing straight into my Muldrotha deck, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sweet. I love golems. It's like one of my favorite Magic creature types. So, and they have one in almost every set. But yeah, obviously, in limited, this is going to be really good. It is expensive, but I think most decks will probably be able to play just like 1 7-drop. And this is one that's worth playing, since when it comes into play, it can destroy anything that's not a land, and you're always going to get a 2-for-1 there and destroy whatever your opponent's best permanent is every single time you cast this, and that's pretty insane.
Yeah, plus it's colorless, so it fits in everything.
Oh, yeah, that too. Oh, man. They're printing some pretty strong colorless cards lately. Like, I think some people are definitely going to underestimate this thing with the mana cost, but, I mean, if you can build a deck around getting to turn 7, you know, that blowing up your opponent's best thing is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the red-green is going to be the area where you can ramp the best, and that deck will have no problem at all your Golem. And I think even your typical deck in the format, I don't think, I mean, this format looks like it's going to be faster than Dominaria. Like the red-white deck looks like it could really kill people really quickly, and that'll keep things in check. But I think most decks will be able to run 1/7 drop, and this is a good one to be running.
Oh, yeah. I think this is a first pickable card, hands down, in most cases.
Yeah, I don't think I would take it over premium removal, but yeah, anything like, you know, below that, I would absolutely take it over it.
Oh yeah, like you're not going to beat Murder, especially in Limited, where you can't cheat it as easily as you can in, you know, Constructed. Murder is just going to be a top pick on almost everybody's list, but yeah, definitely a high pick for creatures, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Also, I just like that it's kind of a like Transformers card. If you look at the flavor text, even it sounds like Megatron or something landed. The impact sent the soldiers scattering, and then something came out of the crater.
Yeah, I'm not the kind of person who really notices art, but yeah, as soon as I saw this card and like the name and the art, it's like I said, I could like hear it smashing into the ground and just, you know, walking out of the crater. So it's a great art in that card.
All right, we'll go to your final card, Nizzahon.
Yep, my last one I wanted to talk about is Metamorphic Alteration. This, you know, sort of, you know, my first card I talked about, Sarkhan's Unsealing, is one I'm a little uncertain about, but that I think has really high potential. And I think that's kind of what we have here too. Metamorphic Alteration for 1 generic in the blue is an aura at rare. And when you play it, you choose a creature, and the enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. So what I like about this is that it's incredibly flexible. So you can play this on your opponent's best creature to make it a copy of whatever the worst creature on the table is. Or you can play it on your worst creature to make it whatever the best creature on the table is. And that is incredibly good in Limited. You know, there are going to be times where it's like the upgrade doesn't really make a difference. The table's filled with 3/3s and 4/4s, and there's not really a difference, and that's going to hold it back a little bit. But I see this as being pretty great in Limited. It's a weird card that we haven't really seen before, but when you think about it in the terms of make my opponent's best creature, whatever the worst creature is, and make my best creature whatever the best creature is. That's sort of, if you think about it that way, it's going to be pretty powerful. And even in Constructed, you can use this to turn a creature into Walking Ballista, just kill it instantly, because it comes 0/0. So that would be kind of fun, right?
I like how you can pick which side of the board. It's not limited to, you know, only your creatures. So that gives it a lot more options that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're guaranteeing, you know, at worst that you have the best creature on the board, or at worst that your opponent has the worst creature on the board. So it works out pretty well.
That is really interesting. I didn't even at all think about enchanting the opponent's creature, but that it shows you the depth on this card, which usually means there's gonna be a way to break it with that kind of depth on it. But
yeah, I gave it a B.
Yeah.
I gave it a B in my set review, but it's such a weird card that I could see it being an A or a C, and I wouldn't be that surprised. It's just really hard to gauge because it's not something we've ever seen before, exactly.
Yeah, I like that even in the art, though, they give you an example of what kind of creature you could use this to get. You know, because, like, say your opponent opened one of the busted mythic dragons, like, little hint at my final card, but if your opponent has Chromium, you're probably screwed in Limited. And yeah, with this thing, you could make your own copy of Chromium, which is pretty cool. So
that's right. It doesn't say choose target creature, so you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is a really important clause with as we found out, there was like a very short window in Standard where people were actually playing Carnage Tyrant, and the only way to get around Carnage Tyrant was by playing Vizier of Many Faces. because Vizier of Many Faces just says become a copy of a creature, it doesn't target the Carnage Tyrant, so you can make your own copy of Carnage Tyrant and block theirs down. So control decks were playing that just in case you ran into that matchup. So it's kind of a similar effect in that in that way. Which Vizier of Many Faces was a Stone Cold Bomb, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that card was because most clones are cards that you can play and it's going to be the best creature on the table. Vizier of Many Faces was extra ridiculous because it also had Embalm and it could just come back and it could do it twice. You could trade for whatever your opponent's best creature is and then have it come back and do it all over again. So 2 for 1, all in one card. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I can just see a lot of really fun decks, especially since Vizier of Many Faces is still in the format. Yeah. This might go into my, I've been like kind of dreaming about a deck that's like play your opponent's deck, where you play like Gonti, there's that Treasure Enchantment from Rivals of Ixalan where you get to take however many cards off their deck, when the creature dies, and cards like that. This would fit in perfect to that. You're just playing your opponent's deck, not your deck.
You're the worst type of people.
Yeah, we'll have to stream that sometime. I think that'd be a fun one on Arena.
Yes.
All right, any other thoughts on this one?
Nope.
I'll take that as no. Okay. All right, what's your last card, Nicole?
Gutter Snipe.
Oh yeah.
It's a goblin.
The classic.
The classic red card, but kind of is it a little bit. I like this card. I've discovered I'm actually an is it mage, despite how much I hate blue. I'm just...
Fine line between love and hate, I guess.
It's true. A very fine line. But dealing 2 damage just makes up for it. I'll play all the instant and sorcery spells I need to deal 2 damage. I'm happy with that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Nizzahon could probably speak to this, but this has always been just a pretty incredible card in Limited, right?
Yeah, I mean, usually if it's printed, it means there's a spells deck around, and that's what blue-red usually is, and that's what we have in this format. So there's a bunch of spell build-arounds at common and uncommon, and Gutter Snipe is I think it's arguably even better than Enigma Drake, which is the blue-red signpost in common. Yeah, just turning all of your spells, your anticipates, all of your little spells into shocks to your opponent's face it's just a source of inevitability. And Gutter Snipe is a key payoff to really get there with the blue-red spells deck. So yeah, it's great.
I was trying to think, what was the most recent set that... Because I know since I started with Shadows, we've had Gutter Snipe in a limited format. I'm pretty sure it was a Modern Masters set, right?
Yeah, it was. I think it was maybe Eternal Masters. It was a Masters set. I don't remember which one, though. Yeah, we did recently.
It might have been Eternal Masters. I just remember winning one of those drafts because I was able to pick up 2 Gutter Snipes.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, you know what it was? It was actually... It might have been Conspiracy, too.
Maybe.
Well, now
I know it was in a Masters set because I didn't play any of the Conspiracies, and it was in a Masters set that I played.
I was going to say I am on Scryfall right now. I can look.
There you go.
It's a Iconic Masters.
There you go. That's what it is.
There we go.
Which do they have the art for the promo on here?
Oh, you know what, Nizzahon? It was in Conspiracy and Iconic Masters.
There we go.
Yeah, so that's what it was. Oh, the promo art.
Yeah.
I don't know how you switch arts on Scryfall, but yeah, the promo art's really neat. I really like it a lot. Seiben said it was so ugly, but I was like, I like it.
I do like the original art where he's got like a slingshot with a fireball in it. It does look, that sort of embodies what the card does to your opponent pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they don't have it on Mythic. Oh, there it is. Oh, if my sorry guys, the window that I use for oh wait, okay, there we go. There he is.
And the flavor text: I found a new toy. Want to play?
That's so a red mage thing to say.
Yeah.
I want to say Iconic Masters had the art of him standing next to the forge, if you know what I'm talking about. Like it's the other, he's like wearing a purple robe.
Yeah.
Unless I'm thinking of a different card, but I'm pretty sure that there's a version of Gutter Snipe like that as well.
I think I like the other. I think I like the non-promo arm. I might be in Seiben's camp there.
I like both of them. They're both good.
Yeah.
They both have their unique properties, and they're cute in a different way.
Yeah. I gotta say, for Constructed, I'm actually not certain that this goes into a Goblin deck. It's a little...
I don't think it would. I think you want to just be straight aggressive and you're not going to run enough instants and sorceries, and it doesn't have good enough stats. So I don't think he makes it in.
Let's see if he made it in my Goblin deck I built the other day. Nope, he did not.
I was gonna say, just watch your video, and I was pretty sure I didn't see it. Good video, by the way. You guys should check out BadWolf MTG and her new series she's trying out, where she like basically does what I do when I try to make a jank deck and just kind of off the top of your head, you know, see what you can do before checking, you know, all the net deck sites and everything. It's a good idea, Nicole.
Yep, coffee in the morning and brew a deck real quick, and then actual work.
Yeah, that's what you should call it. Brews and brews.
There you go.
Oh, dang.
Brews on brews on brews. All right, any more thoughts on this classy reprint here?
Nope, just happy to see it.
All right, we'll go to my final card here. I've already talked at length about this guy, but it's Chromium.
Yeah.
In my evil Esper colors for my evil Esper control deck.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is just nuts. You know, he's 7 mana, no problem for a control deck. It's got flash, incredible. Spell can't be countered, amazing in the mirror match. It's got flying, suck that Nizzahon. And of course the good resistance here, discard a card.
This part's kind of suck that Nizzahon too, so.
Yeah, until end of turn. Oh, except for one edge case, which I'm going to talk about. But
right.
Till end of turn, Chromium the Mutable becomes a human with base power and toughness 1/1, loses all abilities and gains hexproof, and it can't be blocked this turn. Wow, that's just insane. Because control decks have no problem discarding extra cards, especially lands in the endgame. So this thing is just going to be control finisher from now on, I'm pretty sure. Although I have found the big issue is that it still dies Fumigate, unfortunately. Whereas Nizzahon can blink, so
that's true.
You got to kind of weigh your options there. Also, you know, settle the wreckage. Like any kind of board sweeper still deals with Chromium. So in that case, it's a little less good in certain situations, but I think in general, Chromium is still just going to be an incredible card. I mean, it blocks everything. It hits the face for 7. It can't die to any targeted removal. It can't be countered. It's got flash. Like, holy cow, what else could you want in control?
And it's unblockable. Of course, that's only when it's a 1/1, so.
Which actually does have applications in Commander, I've heard, because you can transform it and it still keeps all of its enchantments
equipment
on it. So you play it as it's kind of the new Voltron Commander, because you can sneak in and do all your Commander damage with it when it becomes unblockable.
That's true, and you know it's not going to die.
Ew, that is so gross.
Yeah, I mean, I think even though it's 3 colors and it's 7 mana, I think you first pick this in a lot of scenarios in Pack 1 Pick 1 because it's such an insane bomb. I mean, in Limited, there's going to be so few ways to kill this if your opponent resolves it. They're going to flash it in to kill one of your creatures, first of all, because a 7/7 is going to flash in and eat a creature in almost all cases, right? So you flash it in, block something, and kill it. Then, you know, on your turn, you have a 7/7 to attack with that can gain hexproof. So, yeah, it's insane and Limited. You know, blue, green, I mean, blue, black, and white aren't exactly, you know, colors that can splash easily, but this format does have 10 2-colored lands at common, and it has Manolith, so you can splash this no problem if you put a high enough priority on splashing, which you should if you're first picking Chromium, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you see the blown up version of the art? Wow.
Oh yeah, it's a very good one.
It's so good. Just the details and stuff they put into that, it's good.
Yeah, I love that it's using its wings as well to hold itself up. That's really neat. Oh, I looked up Chromium on Google, and it brought up the element chromium. Not quite the same thing.
God, those old Elder Dragons.
I
It's
swear-
interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
For the most part, they didn't really seem to try to reference the abilities of the old Elder Dragons, with exception because he makes your opponent discard a card. But I was surprised they didn't do something on them, other than them being 3 colors and having the same name. You know, I thought maybe they'd all have some little ability that sort of makes you remember the old Elder Dragons, but they don't really.
Yeah, this guy, I mean, is a huge flavor win as far as the story goes, because in the story, Chromium hides as a human. And that's where they get this ability from, where he becomes a human with base power 1/1.
Yeah.
He's hiding from the other Elder Dragons during the war. But yeah, in general, they really did not match up the actual old abilities to the new stuff. But yeah, just an awesome card. Love the art, love the flavor, love the abilities. This thing is just the entire package for me. So
Yeah.
oh, just a little trick I was thinking of though in limited, if you need to deal with this thing. If you have damage-based removal and they do flash in to take out one of your creatures, even if you have sorcery speed damage, they can't really avoid that, because if Chromium's already taken damage for the turn, if they turn into the 1/1 human, it'll still die, right? Because it'll still have the damage on it.
Yep.
It becomes a 1/1, so it'll die in that regard. So a little bit weaker to damage-based removal.
Yeah, the turn if you want to flash it in to kill something, which I think is usually worth it. Yeah, it can be a little it can be in trouble, that's for sure.
Just a little risky. I think it's always going to be worth it, but you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
little strategy you might have to use it to get rid of it in some limited games. Just get it to take any damage, and they're not going to want to use the discard ability. So, all right, I think that wraps it up. I was just going to mention some honorable mentions in the art department and just flavor department. Liliana's contract, super cool. Love the art on this one, and just the flavor of the demons thing. This, I'm sure Nizzahon will agree here. This thing is just the worst thing you could possibly open in limited. Oh, actually,
I actually don't think I don't think it's bad in limited. I think the whole second block of text is irrelevant, because there's only one demon in the entire set, so it's never going to matter. But the first text, lose 4, draw 4 is pretty good in limited, and I think it's a cool card flavor wise too, because as someone who doesn't really follow the story, I generally know that Liliana has had deals with demons, and so it conveys a lot of flavor to even someone who doesn't know much about the story. So.
Oh yeah, that was actually very boneheaded of me to say that it's not good in limited, because it's actually pretty incredible in limited. drawing 4 cards for 4 life for 5 mana is actually a really decent rate. So yeah, it's actually not bad.
But it is kind of annoying anytime there's like any clause on a card, and it's just like, that's irrelevant in limited, but they have to. So not everyone just plays limited, I guess.
People still play limited?
Yeah, I know, exactly. See?
This is going to be really fun for brewers, though, because there's going to be, like with Arcane Adaptation and cards like that, there's so many ways to cheat the win condition and stuff. I'm not usually a fan of alternate win conditions, but that one just seems pretty fun.
That does seem fun.
Why did they have the German? That's weird. The German version of the site pulled up here. Arcane Adaptation just says, for 3 mana, it's an enchantment. All creatures in your deck become the creature type of your choice, so you can name demon, and that means any 4 creatures of different names are on the battlefield and you win. So it's pretty cool. And then I was gonna mention Bone Dragon, just because his art's awesome. He looks like a Draco Lich from old D&D.
And he's also, there's like no way he doesn't see play in Constructed, I feel like a durable threat like him with great stats.
Yeah, doesn't die to Glorybringer.
Possibly. The exiling 7 other cards is a pretty steep mana cost.
That's true.
And there's quite a bit of graveyard hate in the format, but you could say that about any Reanimator strategy, so yeah, there's a possibility you could see play. I think definitely in like a Black-Red Dragons deck, it could have a home there. Maybe as like a one-of, just because of how greedy the clauses for bringing it back.
Thank God they didn't print this when Delirium was a thing, huh?
Oh yeah, no, that would be something. Wall of Mist, I just love the art on this one. If you get a chance, look at the full-size art on that. It's really nice. Lathlis, I think that's going to be a bomb in a lot of formats, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, the art on that one's also really cool, with all the little dragons flying behind her.
Oh yeah, Alex Konstad has been just knocking it out of the park. He's the guy that did Slimefoot's art, so he's been doing some pretty iconic art lately. And that's another one. Just check out the high resolution on that one. It's really neat with all the dragons in the background and stuff.
I guess they're not actually small; they're just far behind her.
yeah.
Because they are 5.5s. They're only a little smaller than her, so.
Yeah, that's not a small dragon.
No.
And then Demon of Catastrophes. I actually didn't like the promo art for this one, but oh man, the regular art for it here is just so cool. Like that's really, really awesome looking.
It's for me, it like really invokes like the demon from Fantasia. I don't know if I'm the only, but
oh yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Yeah,
I see it now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say that probably wraps us up for card stuff here, because we're running a little bit over. But real quick, I'll just go ahead and mention a little bit of controversy that we saw floating around on the Twitter sphere today. For Pro Tour 25th anniversary this fall, oh my goodness, I just totally froze there. They're going to be hosting a beta Arabian Nights and Homelands Rochester draft, and there's some pretty incredible pros on the invite list, and then a couple that just don't seem to fit, and that's been causing a bit of consternation among the pros and the community because it just doesn't seem right. I was just wondering what you guys were thinking on that one.
Some of the pros, like the top 4, all make sense. I think it's really cool that the first 4 they invited are each the people who have the most pro points ever from each geographical location, and they're definitely all like legends in the game. Raphael Levy, Shuhei Nakamura, John Finkel, and Paulo. Those are all players everybody knows basically, and they're all mostly still playing, so that's cool. And then they chose to invite 4 other people who they describe as contributors to competitive gaming history, either on the Pro Tour or elsewhere. And for that, you see Brian Kibler, who I'd say makes sense within the same group as the first 4. Like he was the face of the game for a while, and yeah, he doesn't play as much now, but I can see inviting him as one of the great players in the game's history. But the next 3 people, we have Stanislav Sifka, David Williams, and Jason Chan, better known as Amaz. And I would say, Sifka has a Pro Tour top 8, David Williams has a Pro Tour top 8 and a few Grand Prix top 8s. Amaz has never done anything really in Magic. They're all people who are mostly Hearthstone personalities, and so is Kibler, but he's at least a historic great name for the game. And the other 3 are clearly such big reaches to trying to get Hearthstone pros to play Magic, basically, that I think it's a little problematic. I mean, some of the greatest players in the game's history, even if you don't want to invite only people who are playing now, but Luis Scott Vargas isn't here, Kai Buddha's not here. Like, those are pretty big people to not include, I feel like. And I think inviting 3 people who are mostly known for their Hearthstone and other competitive gaming things is kind of problematic to me. But that's just my take on it.
So let me get this clear. Most of these players play Hearthstone, which is a digital game, no cards, no paper cards, and you have a set amount of mana you can use each turn, basically. And they're going to be putting them in beta and other draft forms, which that's paper, and there are lands in those packs, and they have to play lands out. And if they don't get lands, they get mana screwed.
Yeah. Well, the good news is all of them have played Magic. Most of them a lot, maybe Amaz to a lesser extent, but yeah, it is interesting that they decided to invite people who play a digital card game mostly to do a paper event. Like, if they invited them to a Magic Online or Magic Arena event, that might make a little more sense to us, I guess. But as is, it's sort of odd. And everyone who's invited to this is guaranteed, by the way, at least $12,500. Okay, So this is like a competitive event where there's a huge prize pool, and everyone gets at least $12,500. First place gets $35,000. So Wizards is in some way basically paying these people to play Magic, and to talk about Magic, to get it talked about it as alongside Hearthstone by some of these people, which it makes some marketing sense. Sure, Hearthstone in terms of digital card games and everything, has a bigger market. It's more popular with certain demographics and all of that, but it's like a lot of pros are really upset about it. For some people, I mean, like Brian Braun-Duin, who's pretty mild-mannered, talked about how he's not sure Magic will exist in 5 years if competitive Magic will exist in 5 years if things continue in this direction. And Eric Froelich, who's a little less mild-mannered, basically said he's considering leaving Magic completely now and just going back to just playing poker, which is something he's won a lot of money doing. So, it's creating a lot of people are upset that this event, which was announced when they changed everything a few years ago, when the Pay the Pros thing really started, they said there would be this big $150,000 tournament, and they implied that Magic pros would be invited to it. And in this case, I'd say, at maybe six of these people are active Magic pros. 2 of them aren't, and 3 of them are pretty questionable as how did you guys decide who to invite? It's not like based on their currently how good they are, like Worlds, right? So it's a little questionable. Like the Wizards sort of just decided, at least on these last 4, who they're inviting, and it's not really based on a lot, on them actually being Magic pros, I guess.
Yeah, and it's so odd because we just had one of the more successful streams ever with the beta Rochester draft that happened at GP Vegas, and that was done, with a qualifier where anybody could try to qualify. We even had one guy that wasn't a pro, made it to the top, and that was such a cool, Cinderella story to see this guy, up there with LSV and Ben Stark and stuff. Playing with these packs that are themselves worth thousands of dollars, and now we're just getting basically a show match where we have people from another game that really have never shown any support or interest in Magic, and it really does just feel like a big slap in the face to these pros, especially when they get more money than most of the pro players are going to make at a pro tour just for showing up.
Right, and it's not really their fault. Like if someone invite, we can't really blame them. Like,
no.
Yeah.
None of the pros.
Someone invited me, I would say yes.
Somebody invited me on a trip they're going to pay for, and they're going to give me at least $500 to do this.
Done.
So
I'll be there.
Yeah, none of the pros should catch flack for this at all. This is strictly Wizards of the Coast, just making what, in my opinion, is just a boneheaded marketing mistake, because there's so many other ways you could do this that would work out better. Because, if you're trying to market this game to new players, you don't show them a beta and Arabian Nights, Rochester. This is going to be the most, just, excuse the language, but shit show draft. Arabian Nights is not known for having a ton of playable stuff on beta, unless they, open a Black Lotus or something. The mana is just garbage in these sets. You can't, I think a lot of the guys at the beta Rochester draft all went just monocolor because it's just too hard to play multiple colors in a weird limited Rochester format like this. So it's just going to be inaccessible, for a lot of non-Magic players to even tune into the stream to see their favorite Hearthstone player playing with, the most interesting part about this draft is just going to be what gets open after the packs are cracked. I mean, it'll be interesting for super and franchise players that are nostalgic about these old cards to see them getting played, just like with the Vegas draft. But aside from the thrill of opening a possible $20,000 card, what else is there for new players to get out of it?
And if they're going for nostalgia, they shouldn't invite like Stanislav Sivka. When you read their profiles about Magic playing, he once famously won Pro Tour Return to Ravnica with his Eggs deck, but he hasn't really been interested in Magic since then. He's been a Hearthstone pro basically, and it's he's not someone people associate. He's not like someone you see and you're he really embodies an era of professional Magic. There are so many other people they could have invited if that's what they were going for, like Bob Marr. There are a lot of Kaibuda, I think, is the biggest person to be excluded, since he's considered by some to be the greatest player ever, or at least in the top 2. And he's not on this at all. And, you know, people, when this was announced, were like, well, we don't know that Kaibuda wasn't invited and said he couldn't go. And then he replied, and he was like, nope, I wasn't invited, and they didn't tell me anything about it. And that's, you know, if it had turned out that he'd been invited and couldn't go, that might be a different thing. But they didn't even think about inviting him, right? And that seems insane to me.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. And like, from a marketing perspective, with that much money, there's so many better ways that you could use it. That's what I don't understand, because you can do show matches between content creators would have been neat with the new set, because you like want to have M19, you know, in the forefront here. But in general, I think timing is just awful right now, because they want to push Arena, which is, you know, kind of a good entry point for new players. But the big, you know, 25th anniversary Pro Tour is a team event with standard, modern, and legacy on the teams, and that's just going to be really confusing and way too like niche for, you know, a wide audience to appreciate anything but maybe the standard decks, which are, you know, still pretty massive at this point. There's like a huge pool to draw from on that. Like, in my opinion, what they really could have done with this, and this is totally aside from paying the pros better, because, you know, my idea is not going to pay the pros better. I think they need to pay their content creators better and get people like Numot, you know, Numot the Nummy, or the Professor, you know, people like that, and have them play against like maybe a Hearthstone guy in like a exhibition match that's all M19. You know, like, have them be the sideshow at the Pro Tour, where you still do the big Pro Tour anniversary for us, you know, for the enfranchised players. But you bring in these Hearthstone guys to play with the new products and introduce them, you know, introduce new people to people like the Professor, you know, who they can follow on YouTube and kind of get into the game that way, and like build bridges that way with the Hearthstone players. Just, you know, pay them under the table. Who gives a crap? You know, that's their marketing budget. You know,
right.
Give them 10 grand and say, okay, for today you're gonna act like Magic's the best thing ever, whatever. And then, you know, the Professor, you turn around and say, hey, we'll give you a huge stream to be on. You know, like, you know, most Magic content creators would, you know, drop
Jump
everything.
And skip. Yeah,
the chance to play on a big stream during the Pro Tour. I just don't see why they don't do that. But like, that makes so much more sense in my head from a marketing perspective. I could be wrong, but
no, I think you're right. I didn't think about that at all. But yeah, that definitely makes more sense. And the biggest content creators sort of create sort of cross-pollination in a way where people, the big Magic content creators, are also getting some new, you know, subscribers and stuff from people who are saying, hey, this game that this Hearthstone pro that I know is playing, he played it against this content creator, and now I can go watch his videos to learn about the game. Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously we're coming at this, none of us are pro players, and we're all content creators, so we're going to be a little biased, I guess, but I think that sounds like a good idea too. So
yeah, it's just that YouTubers are such a good entry, you know, gateway for, you know, new players. Like, I don't know why they don't put them more front and center during Pro Tours, you know, because they are promotional tours. That's what it's all about, is promoting the game. And it just seems like such a waste that the Professor's not live there at every single Pro Tour doing fun commentary, or maybe not commentary, like doing like a sideshow of some kind. That way we don't get the, you know, the dead cut to camera, or the slides, you know, like the useless slides that nobody gives a crap about because they've seen them 10 times already that day. Like, there's so many more fun things that they could do to engage people on downtime. It just doesn't make any sense why they would spend so much money to have an older format be drafted. And this is all aside from the fact that if they would just pay pro players more people would be into the game, because, you know, kids have these dreams of being like pro esports players nowadays, and it's just pathetic when you look at the Pro Tour and it's like, oh yeah, the first place at a Pro Tour gets $30,000, and then, you know, meanwhile Hearthstone's over there, well, our best player just won $1 million and our 20th place player got $30,000. It's like, right. It's just a little pathetic in that regard too. And I think it's going to be a big problem rolling into Arena, you know, when people are sizing up, you know, because obviously everybody plays for different reasons. Like, I'm still gonna play it because at this point I don't care about the Pro Tour. I know that the pro life is totally unsustainable. You know, there's no, like, I still do like RPTQs and stuff because they're really fun. They're like super competitive, and I'm a competitive spike. So for me, that's like the most fun part of the game is, you know, playing very competitively. But like the pro dream is a great selling tactic, but it's not sustainable even in Hearthstone when there's bigger prizes. But I'll tell you what, if people want to do that, the bigger prizes are going to draw them to the bigger, you know, to that game. So.
Right. Yeah, if you could pick what you're going to go and be a pro in, and, you know, you drop everything else and that's what you do, you've got to make it sustainable and be able to, you know, live off of that. And Magic is not providing that way, so people go elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, even the most successful pro players all write articles and stuff to sort of have extra income. Because, you know, even if you're a great player, you could have a year where you don't day two any pro tours, right? And that just happens. Like, this game has variance in it. You know, it's not just about skill. There is a certain amount of luck involved, and that can happen. And you have to have sort of some income when you don't have a year where, you know, where luck goes your way. And if you don't have that in Magic, that can be a big problem if you're not sort of involved with one of the, like, Channel Fireball or Star City Games, writing articles and streaming and doing all these other things a lot of pros have to do in Magic to make ends meet.
Yeah, and we've lost some of our best personalities to Hearthstone, like Brian Kibler.
Yeah.
And now they have to pay him out the butt to get him to come back.
Yeah.
Like, all of his tweets during GP Vegas all said #sponsored on him. So, like, it was pretty clear that they were giving him money under the table just to show up to the GP because he's so popular in Hearthstone.
It's not really that under the table if he's doing #sponsored.
Well, you get what I mean. Like other pros are going there on their own dime, whereas he is, you know, showing up, probably getting paid more than any of them, I guarantee it, because he has such a big Hearthstone following, and he's just such a big, fun personality that we're kind of a little bit lacking in right now. Like, I mean,
everybody wishes he still played.
Yeah, no offense to the other guys, like, you know, Paula Vitor is pretty cool, and Luis is probably the biggest personality that we have now that is actively engaging and funny. But yeah, we're just kind of missing some of those face people like Amaz, you know, that Hearthstone has, or Trump, or guys like that that are, you know, just really big, fun personalities in front of the camera. Sorry, I've probably ranted for way too long about this. I've been thinking about it for a while.
I think we all ranted.
Except for Nicole, did you want to say anything else about it?
No, I just play for fun. That's my jam.
Yeah, this topic gets a little bit in the weeds. You know, as somebody that plays a little more competitively, and yeah, I feel like Nizzahon, you probably watch, you know, more of the pros than average person might, but I mean, it does have a rippling effect in the game because the pros are just ambassadors for the game at the end of the day. And if you don't treat them right, they're going to leave, like Kibler did. So,
and like others threatened to do today on Twitter. And, you know, so. Yeah,
Efro is definitely one of my favorite guys. Like, pros, I follow a lot of his decks and stuff. So it would be really sad to see him go play poker. Ugh, so boring.
Makes a lot of money though.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's the same 52 cards over and over again.
Well, you can almost say that about some formats. I think that'll about wrap up that topic then. So our final topic, what we're gonna do, and try to do this weekly, is we're gonna kind of steal Nicole's idea for #FridayMTG. And give a shout out to a smaller creator. So who is that creator this week?
This week it is Digital Llama. I may be a little biased because he makes awesome tiny leader content, which is my favorite format, and it's not dead. So you should definitely go check him out and build a tiny leader deck, and it will revive and be big again, but tiny at the same time.
Yeah, here's his page right here. Yeah, it looks like he's got good camera quality. That's always a huge plus for me. So,
yes.
Yeah, I think right now he's at 600 subscribers. Hey guys, let's see if we can get him up to like 700. That'd be really awesome.
Yeah.
And also make sure you guys follow the #FridayMTG on Fridays. and you'll get to see tons of really great smaller content creators. Not talking your professors or guys like that. We're talking
small ones
trying to get their start. So
there's a lot of them, and just people don't know about them because they're so small and overshadowed by all the big ones. And so, yeah, that FridayMTG hashtag, it's been a lot of fun to find a whole bunch of new content creators to follow and get to know and watch their videos.
All right. Well, I think that's going to about wrap it up for this week, guys. Thanks so much if you joined us live. And consider joining us on our Patreon. We got lots of great prizes and content on there on the Aether Hub. And I believe Nizzahon, you've got Patreon as well?
I do, yeah.
So if you like limited content, definitely check out Nizzahon Magic and BadWolf. Your channel is starting to go a little faster again, right? You're getting more videos out?
Yeah, now that the 2-year-old doesn't take naps, but she's older now, it works out a lot better to find time to make content.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a pretty big challenge. What do you guys got coming out on your channels this week?
I'm in the midst of the full set limited review on my channel, talking about every single card in Core Set 2019 and what I think of it, what my impressions are before playing with it. I do a big archetype guide too that's coming out early next week. I do a top 10. I do top 10 lists every week, and this week I'm actually doing it about limited, the top 10 limited bombs in the set, Core Set 2019. So a lot of Core Set 2019 on my channel right now. So that's what, if you want to see more content about that, that's what you're going to see.
All right. How about you, Nicole?
I've been working on more of those quick brew deck text kind of sort of things, just off the top of my head, a couple of those. And hopefully sometime soon I'll have a mountain cake out. I'm not sure about that one though. Maybe this weekend. That would be cool if I could make it this weekend.
Subscribe to the channels and get updates on when those videos are going to come out. On the Aether Hub, we're going to, Seiben's going to keep jamming on lore, and in the background, we're working on some new projects, but, we'll keep you guys posted on those, so make sure you subscribe. All right, thanks for joining us for Around the Aether Cooler. See you next week.